Hello and welcome to CNBC TV18 and on to our special broadcast. I'm Ronojoy Banerjee. The decision of the GST Council to hike cess on cars has sent alarm bells across the luxury car industry. All big luxury brands, whether it's Audi, Mercedes-Benz or BMW, who otherwise seldom see eye to eye, were on the same page on the issue of cess, warning that the latest hike could hit investments and thereby impact jobs as well. But what about Jaguar Land Rover, a company wholly owned by Tata Motors and which has really, over the past few years, gradually been hiking investments in the country, and they also now have a manufacturing plant, an assembly unit at Pune. Joining me now in a rare television interview is Rohit Suri, president at Jaguar Land Rover India, a company that many would say, along with the other guys, has borne the brunt of a higher cess. But before I go to Rohit, let us tell you how the GST rates have actually impacted the luxury car segment. My colleague Utkarsh Chaturvedi joining me now to tell us exactly that. Utkarsh, over to you.
Ron, thanks a lot. So first of all, let's give our viewers a sense of how the taxation structure has changed. So speaking about the change in the taxation structure, now if you look at the small petrol cars, small diesel cars, nothing changed here. In the mid-size, the base was 28%. The cess is now 17%, which makes it 28 plus 17, 45% of tax. In the luxury and the SUV space, now this is where the major impact has happened. The 28% luxury base and then a 20% of cess makes it a 48% of a tax, and in the SUV space, the base, which was 28%, now at 22%, makes it a 50% of a tax. But to give our viewers a sense of what kind of price increase can we really look at, we picked three major SUVs from the luxury car makers, from JLR, from Audi, and from Mercedes. Now let's start with JLR. The JLR Evoque, which earlier, before the GST implementation, was costing somewhere around 43.2 lakhs. After the GST implementation and the price cut, the price came to 42.3 lakhs. So it was almost a lakh of a cut. But once the 7% cess really seeps in, the prices can be expected to go to somewhere around 44.3 lakhs. Now speaking about the Audi Q5, the Audi Q5 pre-GST was costing somewhere around 48.44 lakhs. After the GST implementation and the price cut, the price went down to 46.96 lakhs. But now what we are expecting, once the cess has been hiked, it will be somewhere around 49.21 lakhs. Lastly, speaking about the Mercedes GLC, the Mercedes GLC was costing somewhere around 47.9 lakhs. Then the prices went down. It came to 46.52 lakhs. But what we are expecting is that prices can go up to 48.75 lakhs now. Now, obviously, what we are expecting here is that the whole cess increase will be passed on by the car makers, and if this happens, then these will be the prices. But one thing, Ron, which you will have to notice here is that the difference in the new prices is more than the prices pre-GST. So say a Mercedes which was 47 lakhs 0.9 before GST will be costing after the cess hike at a 48.7%, and this is where it is hurting the most to luxury car makers who are once hit by the demand which they're expecting due to the price cut, and now the prices are more than what it used to be during the pre-GST era.
All right, Utkarsh, many thanks for that. So essentially what has happened in that in 3 months, each of these cars have actually had three different prices. So you had one price which was in the pre-GST regime, that is before 1st of July. Then you had another price post-GST, that is when most of them actually announced a price cut. And now you have, and you'll probably have another price, especially in the context of a higher cess. Thanks very much, Utkarsh, for bringing in those details. Now let me go to Rohit Suri. Rohit, we had the numbers on our screen there. Post-GST, JLR cut prices by roughly about 5 to 7%. This was done across all your products. And thereafter, now, when an additional cess has been announced, you've had to now restore back the earlier prices. How is the company dealing with such flip-flops?
Yeah, while actually we are happy that the government did listen to us a little bit and moderated the increase in cess. They didn't go the whole hog and increased it by 10%. But, when the GST rates were actually rolled out on 1st July, and actually this rate was indicated quite far back in, around October, November of last year. We were actually quite enthused because what this would have meant was we were actually excited by the fact that the government has what the government is trying to do is take away the cascading impact of the cesses in the new GST regime, and that actually enabled us to plan for reduction in some bit of reduction in prices. Now, obviously, when the prices go down, the industry was overall enthused that this would spur an increase in demand. Unfortunately, with this cess increase, I think that has been neutralized. So while we were very, happy that this would finally, we'll be able to see a demand increase, that is unlikely to happen now. And I don't know how many people know this outside the industry, that the premium automotive market in India has been stagnant for the last 4 or 5 years. We haven't really crossed the 30,000 average mark over the last 4 or 5 years. So therefore, if we have to make more investments, if we have to hire more people in our factories, in our showrooms, in our workshops, we were looking at increase in demand. And if the demand is not going to increase, obviously this will restrict us from expansion in our portfolio, making more investments, or hiring more people and creating more jobs. So to that extent, we are a little disappointed that this has been increased so quickly, after the first rates were deployed. But otherwise, overall, I think we are still positive that GST is a very, very, a very revolutionary kind of indirect taxation reform in the country, and there will be efficiencies which will flow into the system on an overall basis, which should help demand some bit, but not to the extent that we were hoping immediately after the rollout on 1st July.
All right, Rohit. So, you made some important points. You've said that now, post this cess, the earlier price reduction we've seen in the luxury car segment, that has been neutralized. You've also talked about how luxury car industry overall has stagnated. But let me pick on one point, so that viewers get more clarity in what you're saying. So you're essentially implying that the demand that you were originally expecting because of a lower production, lower price, may not happen now because of a higher cess. In which case, would you then have to review your business plans in the country?
This increase in cess is likely to impact demand expansion very clearly. So this will mean that we will have to rework our strategy, what we had been working on for the last 8 to 9 months after the new rates were indicated sometime back in October, November, which was very encouraging because, as I mentioned to you, the new rate, which was actually finally deployed on 1st of July, did enable our industry to bring down the prices by 5 to 7%. So therefore, this did mean that there would be an expansion in demand, and this was basically encouraging not only us, but I would say the whole industry to plan for expansion, plan for more investment, plan for more job creation, plan for more expansion in our dealership network, etc., which would have spawned an overall growth in various sectors. So, in India, for example, there is a lot of this perception is there that a luxury car customer should be taxed. It's absolutely fine. Do tax a luxury car customer. He's already taxed as far as direct taxation is concerned, and indirect taxation also is a means to tax. But please do that. But please also keep in mind that this is only one customer who's driving a car. There are more than 4,000 to 5,000 people within each brand, which is supporting that one customer who's driving the car. There are factories behind that. There are showrooms where ordinary people, peons, guards, salespeople, workshop people, service advisors, technicians, who are supporting this one customer to buy the car. And therefore, if you don't allow the demand to expand, then obviously it will have an impact on the overall investment strategy and the jobs that we can create or help to create in our country.
So Rohit, purely on a lighter note, in retrospect, do you think perhaps it was a mistake for car makers like yours to go for these big hoardings, the advertising blitzkrieg, announcing, this big price reductions? Perhaps that is what alerted everybody to the kind of, price cuts, the unjustifiable price cuts, many would say, that the luxury car industry got.
Yeah, it looks like that actually. It looks like our enthusiasm to also follow the law, because the government was very clear that any advantages that you derive out of GST should be passed on to the consumer immediately. Didn't seem to play out in the same manner. It seems to be unfair just because we reduced the prices. It looks like it had it kind of, gave them a wrong indication that these guys seem to be, should have been taxed more. So I mean, that's a feeling that we get. It may not be true, because we are sure the government has a larger perspective and they have done what is right for our country. But I think in a limited manner, it does not help to expand demand in this area in our industry.
All right, Rohit. Let's pick on the point that you've said, at the start of the interview. You're saying that JLR, on one hand, is relieved that the GST Council did not go the whole way and actually increase the cess to the maximum limit. But isn't that also a cause for uncertainty? Because in a few months' time, who knows, the Council may take a view that the cess needs to be hiked to the maximum limit of 25%, because they have that room. Doesn't that sort of create more uncertainty for companies like you?
Absolutely, yes. Absolutely, yes. In our country, unfortunately, the industry is plagued with too much of uncertainty as far as the policies are concerned, and as far as these, very sudden kind of moves are seen in the area of legislation or taxation. And it does create an atmosphere of uncertainty. And actually, the hope was that with the coming in of the GST, this uncertainty will go away totally. But clearly, that is not the case. And we have to adapt ourselves to this continuing uncertainty in the market, and which is really not very healthy.
No, it's not healthy. But has the luxury car industry so far petitioned the government on this issue of higher cess, Rohit?
Yeah, so there are various forums, and we are, continuously, through these forums, we are continuously voicing our concerns. So that is being done. That is being done. But I think this realization has yet to come in, that the luxury customer should not be held, that guy is not the one who's actually paying for this. What is the people who are paying for this is ordinary people, because it impacts job creation, it impacts investment. So it is finally the ordinary people who are getting impacted by this very high level of taxation.
All right. I want to ask you one last question on the cess issue, and after that, we'll take a break. But is the fact that the timing of the cess, it's come in when the festive season is around the corner. Has the timing been perhaps another big cause for concern for car makers? Because this is the time. This is over the next 2-3 months is where you see the bulk of your volumes.
Oh, yes, absolutely. So, the festive season is just upon us, just round the corner. And therefore, doing this at this point of time. And actually the larger point is that, it was not even a month, somewhere around 7th or 8th of August, they indicated that their intention is to, raise the taxes again. So that is quite disappointing. It is definitely disappointing.
All right, Rohit. We'll request you to hang in there because we need to slip into a break. Let's slip into a break. Our conversation with Rohit Suri continues. But after the break, we will focus on JLR's big plans. Remember, come 2020, every car JLR makes will come in with a hybrid plug-in or electric powertrain option. That and more when we return.